Which teams have the best running back rooms? Not just RB1s, but entire depth charts. We are ranking team by team running backs for the 2024 season on today's Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and making this your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love our everydayers, and we especially love it and appreciate it when you hit that subscribe button. So please do hit that subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting as much as we want them to. This summer, still all kinds of action at FanDuel, and they're hooking you up. All customers getting hooked up, in fact, with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Here we go. It's running backs time. We're doing the tiers again. We're not necessarily ranking them 1 through 32, and these are not just RB1s. These are running back rooms. So we're looking at the entire depth chart of running backs here and putting them into tiers, 5 tiers. We've got an elite tier, a great tier 1, all the way down to a very poor tier 5 of these running backs in 2024, going east to west as we did yesterday. Matt, anything else you want to add to this as your own criteria for ranking these running back groups?
Yeah, this would be a lot different than quarterbacks. I mean, obviously one quarterback hopefully plays every snap. So I think depth here, the entire room is going to carry a little more weight, not to discredit backup quarterbacks, but I mean, if you have Mahomes, I don't really care who your backup is, you know? Also, unlike quarterbacks, I want to factor in blocking situation scheme a little bit more. I mean, if there's huge holes and the running backs are getting what's blocked, I'm not going to commend you that even though it's 6 yards a carry, if a better back would have gotten 8, you know what I mean?
Oh, you're actually grading on a curve. If you've got a great scheme in line, it actually lowers your grade because you're doing less.
Well, more, it raises your expectations. I don't know if it lowers your grade.
Gotcha. And we're going east to west, so let's start again with the Buffalo Bills. They had an elite quarterback. What do you think about the running back room now with James Cook coming into his own as the top guy? Ty Johnson, rookie 4th-round draft pick, Ray Davis. You've got Darrington Evans, Frank Gore Jr. in the house, which makes me happy. Just like seeing that Frank Jr. looks so much like just a mini version of his dad, just a little bit shorter than his pops. Did not get drafted, but signed as an undrafted free agent. Sneaky player that is a fit for potentially what Buffalo could need down the stretch. And look, running back depth charts, that's why this is more important who your backups are than at quarterback, because all these guys are going to play, and you shouldn't be shocked when your team's trotting out running back 4 as the starter at week 12.
So this one's a tough one right off the bat because I'm torn between tier 2 and tier 3. I'm a big Ray Davis believer. And if he were a little younger, I think he probably would have went a round higher. And then we're talking about a day 2 running back. And I've been harping that the Bills need to go get a pile mover for the town they live in. And they finally actually went out and did that. I actually think James Cook could be a star in the making, not a superstar, but a star in the making. But what kind of workload can he handle? And so I'm going to go.
That sounds like tier 2 to me. You're explaining it, and I'm hearing a tier 2 good running back group because the compliment is correct for James Cook in that environment. And you can't forget about Ty Johnson and then some more depth beyond that. So
I've been kicking it around for these last couple of minutes. So I'm going to go bottom of tier 2 or top of tier 3. I wish I knew more about rookies I'm always going to be a little hesitant on, just like quarterbacks, but rookie running backs acclimate quicker. I guess I'll give him a 2, but again, I'm trying to grade hard because I don't want a ton of 1s and 2s when we're all done and nothing in the 4s and 5s neighborhood because average is middle of the road. Middle of the road's fine.
Average. So let me ask you this question with the Buffalo Bills: James Cook,
Yeah.
Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, even Frankie Gore Jr. in there. And we'll see if he makes that team. But do you think there are more teams with a better running back situation than them, or worse in the NFL?
See, that's kind of why I did want to lead off with them, because I'm doing these off the top of my head. I didn't set these all up, even though I knew we were recording this show.
Yeah.
That if we end up with, if that's the barometer and we end up being too top heavy, I'm going to be disappointed. You know what I mean? That's why I was leaning towards 3 just right off the bat to say, that's my Mendoza line. Like, are you better than the Bills? Well, then you're above average. I know that for sure, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Okay. And here's my tiebreaker, actually, is the coordinator change. Cook really stepped up, and I think they wanted to feature him more, and they must like him, and I like them already. So I think there's a lot in front of him.
All right, we're going bottom tier 2, and maybe we'll revisit this, and we'll move the tier line just above them if potentially you find too many teams that are better than the Buffalo Bills at running back in 2024. Let's keep it going in the AFC East here with the Miami Dolphins, who have a ton of speed at running back. Raheem Mostert, Devin Achane. They brought in another 4-3 guy in the draft with 4th-round draft pick Jalen Wright, Salvin Ahmed. You got Jeff Wilson Jr. to do some dirty work there. Really deep group, really fast group, and we've already seen these guys run at a high level on a yards per carry clip. We haven't seen any of these guys be able to stay healthy for a full season, though.
Perfect example of expectations are higher, though. The scheme helps these guys a lot, gets them in space. I still think this is a tier 1 unit, though. I think this is a scary group of ball carriers and pass catchers. The receiving skills here are very, very important. I should have led off with that. But I think that depth, adding the rookie who also can fly to complement Mostert or to back up Mostert, and the Chan is a very unique player. I think they're a tier 1. But I will certainly say if they were Carolina's running backs last year, they wouldn't have been as productive.
What I love about this group is that any one of them could tear you up any given week. But if one gets hurt, you're not in a bad spot, because the next guy up I believe in, and I love the Jalen Wright fit. My comp for him before the draft even happened was Raheem Mostert. So they've got that style of player, and they're going to have injuries. And so it's an interesting group, and you just next man up, let's go. And they can run everything just the same as they did before. And I like that about the Miami running game right now. And they know the type, and then they have a guy like Jeff Wilson catch the ball a little bit stouter runner, and they can kind of give a little change of pace if they need to as well. So it's a deep group.
And I don't think they'd have to change how they play either. It's not like if Anthony Richardson gets hurt and Flacco comes in, well, you got to change the whole offense,
Yeah, and then you can keep them fresh. Like Achane and Mostert, you could just, they're completely interchangeable. Same exact play calls, same guy on the field, different guy on the field. You're 100% fine. And you're just
speed.
New England Patriots, led by Ramondre Stevenson, recently got a little bump in pay. You got Antonio Gibson in-house now from Washington there as the backup to Ramondre Stevenson. JaMychal Hasty, Kevin Harris. That I can't wait to hear your scouting report on Kevin Harris, the 6th-rounder from 2023 that I don't even remember being drafted by the New England Patriots. And some other undrafted free agents from this year, some rookies. You've got Terrell Jennings and Deshaun Fenwick. So that's the group of running backs here in New England, man.
They're a tier 2, but they're similar to Buffalo to me, where they're not a clear, obvious tier 2. And here's my logic behind it, and it's pretty simple. I originally thought that would be like an average group, and I hope I'm not too top-heavy once we get 32 teams in. But I think Ramondre Stevenson is an above-average starter. Not a great one, but an above-average starter. They tend to agree with me. And I still think Antonio Gibson's an above-average backup.
There you go. So, above average, you've got the bottom of tier 2 now for Buffalo and New England. Finishing up the AFC East with the New York Jets with a star running back, Breece Hall, healthy coming into this season. You got Braylon Allen, the rookie 4th-rounder. You've got Isaiah Davis, the rookie 5th-rounder. They double-dipped in the draft in the 4th and 5th round. Izzy Abanikanda, speedy running back from Pitt, last year's 5th-rounder, right? And then Tariq Cohen and Xavier Valladay, which is a fantastic name. It's one of those like create create like computer generated names from Madden back in the day. Fantastic name. I don't know the scouting report there. He was an undrafted free agent last year, but it's a pretty good group of backs at the top. I don't know about the depth. We'll see with those rookies, but Breece Hall's a star in this league.
I think he's actually elite. I mean, I'm not sure he's quite McCaffrey, but he's one of the few backs that I could say next year we'll all say he's the best back in the league. So that coupled with, I do worry about the depth, but we've heard a lot of really good things about Braylon Allen in camp so far, but he's not breaking tackles in camp or anything. So I'm going to put them in tier 1, but boy, I'm being generous.
Running backs and, linemen as well, but running backs is really the one that's hard in camp and OTAs. Like, this guy looks awesome. He looks so fast. It's like, well, he's not even raiding holes or hitting, trying to run through arm tackles or anything like that. You just really cannot tell until live action with those running backs. So we'll see with the rookies. It's a very different group than Miami. Miami's got the depth, and the New York Jets are top heavy. What tier did you say?
I'm going to go 1 because I adore Hall. I mean, it's just that simple.
New York Jets, tier 1, Breece Hall at running back. All right, continuing on. Next, we're going to get through every division, every team's tiered running back rankings on today's Peacock and Williamson. Today's episode is sponsored by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team, and faster and for free, which is key. And LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals that you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job. There are billions with a B professionals on LinkedIn, and some of them might be willing to maybe look for the new role if it's the perfect role, but aren't actively searching. So in a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're really looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Moving over to the NFC East side of things, Matt, and let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles, who swiped away Saquon Barkley from the Dallas Cowboys. Now you got Saquon Barkley, Kenneth Gainwell, Will Shipley, the rookie 4th rounder. A lot of rookie 4th rounders this year in the draft. You got Ty Davis Price, who came over after getting cut from the 49ers. You got Kendall Milton, Lou Nichols, some undrafted free agents there. But really, it's the Barkley, Gainwell, Shipley that we're ranking here as the main depth pieces for the Philadelphia Eagles backfield.
Similar to the Jets, a big-time guy, and then questions. I don't think Barkley's at Hall's level anymore, though. So this is tier 2 where I have Jets at tier 1. I think Saquon, especially if you look at some of his advanced metrics like yards after contact, things like that, have not been that impressive for a couple of years. I do recognize his blocking's been bad, but he's getting up in age, so I think he's a 2 guy.
Saquon Barkley's an interesting player because he was never the most instinctive runner, even coming out of college. Because I remember watching his college tape and I was like, I'm not sure about Barkley because he's a freak athlete, built exactly like you want, can catch the ball in the backfield, fast, powerful, but he bounces everything outside and he's just more athletic than everybody. Sometimes that doesn't play well in the NFL. We saw a guy like Reggie Bush not quite be the same player he was in college, and I thought that might have been Saquon Barkley. But he's been very good in the NFL. But I think maybe he's someone who, once he's not out freaking everybody, then maybe he's not that tier 1 guy. And as you laid out there, maybe he's already kind of at that point. So who knows? Maybe the New York Giants made the right move, letting their rival pay Saquon Barkley, even though he's been such a big part of their offense. And he's still a really good player in the way he can catch the ball and run the ball. So anyway, so you got him Philadelphia Eagles tier 2?
Yep. And this is also going to factor in. He's also been suspect in protection through his career. A guy like Joe Mixon's like that too. I'm not going to discount those things.
And likely to miss time with injuries.
True. Durability is going to be important here. We're going to get to the Browns here coming up. I don't know Nick Chubb, I can't give a good grade to,
Right. Yeah, that's tough. New York Giants, much worse though, when you look at their running back group now. Saquon Barkley, Devin Singletary is the replacement there, who's kind of a journeyman number 2 type of a back. He's going to battle with Eric Gray, the 5th rounder from last year. You got Tyrone Tracy Jr., who's one of my favorite sleepers this year in fantasy drafts, a 5th rounder, because there's some opportunities on this depth chart for somebody who comes in as a rookie, maybe 3rd running back on the depth chart in camp. Then you got Deshaun Corbin, you got Dante Miller, Jacob Sailors, all undrafted free agents in various years. It's on paper, it's not a great group, Matt.
No, and I'm going to give him a 5. I mean, maybe we could be generous and bump him to a 4. I'm excited about Tracy, as you mentioned, but Singletary's never been for me. I think this is one of the worst running back rooms in the league.
Dallas Cowboys up next.
They are the worst running back group.
Ooh, okay.
We just want to cut to the chase. Yeah.
You don't like the Zeke Elliott comeback with the Dallas Cowboys, man?
He was okay with the Patriots. He exceeded my expectations last year. Still runs hard, gets the tough yards, but he's not scaring anybody.
Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, all 5'5" of them. Royce Freeman making a career comeback. I thought he was retired long ago. You got Snoop Connor. You got who else? Malik Davis, some undrafted guys at the bottom of the roster trying to fight for a spot there with the Dallas Cowboys. And yeah, it doesn't look like a great group, and you can't really count on Zeke Elliott to be anything near to what he was in his prime at this point. Washington Commanders is the last group in the NFC East, and they are featuring a backfield of Brian Robinson Jr. You got Austin Eckler. I really like the Thunder and Lightning kind of bigger back, and I think it's the depth chart I'm looking at has Brian Robinson first. I think maybe Eckler is the guy that potentially is going to see more carries there. Chris Rodriguez Jr., a player I liked last year, 2023, 6th round draft pick. You got Jeremy McNichols. You got Michael Wiley, and you got Austin Jones, undrafted rookies as well at the bottom of the training camp depth chart there for the Washington Commanders, man.
Tier 3. I was not a big Brian Robinson fan. I thought he was pretty ordinary, but he got more than what was blocked last year, and there wasn't a lot blocked for him. Eckler was dealing with an ankle, but we very well could be seeing the end of the road for a once great back. I mean, he was highly ineffective last year.
And if I'm not mistaken, there was a clip recently where, and the reason I know this is because I do Locked On 49ers every day, and Brandon Ayuk's best friend was his old college quarterback at Arizona State, Jaden Daniels, before he transferred to LSU. And they've been hanging out a lot this offseason as Ayuk's contract negotiation holdout thing is happening. And they were hanging out together, and Ayuk posted on social media a clip watching tape with Jaden Daniels, which is kind of a no-no. I'm sure some of these guys got in trouble because you're not supposed to be sharing your team's practice tape with other players in the NFL, even if you're trying to get better and helping yourself out. But the clip I saw looked to me like it featured both Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr. in the backfield at the same time, dual halfbacks for Cliff Kingsbury and the Washington Commanders. So that is something that was my biggest takeaway of the whole story was, okay, we might see, and I love it, right? I think it's phenomenal.
If they both will block for each other, then I have no problem with it.
Probably a passing play, likely. Less of a one guy lead blocking for the other. Although Brian Robinson could do some fullback duties for sure. He's got enough size for that.
Interesting.
We are on to the AFC North and the Baltimore Ravens, Matt. And the Baltimore Ravens have Derrick Henry now as their RB1. Justice Hill still in-house. Keaton Mitchell. The speedy Keaton Mitchell, who broke out last year as an undrafted rookie. You got Rasheen Ali, a 5th rounder from this year's class. Owen Wright and Chris Collier are the undrafted rookies that are fighting for roster spots there as well. Derrick Henry on the Baltimore Ravens, kind of as it should be, I feel like. This is a good home for him.
Great fit. Well, Ali and Mitchell are both highly questionable for the start of the season, if not longer. So I'm going to hold that against them. Henry, I've doubted every year, and I'm crazy to doubt him, but I don't think he's an elite back right now. He wouldn't be in my top 5 runners. So they are a tier 2 team. They're not a tier 1 team.
Yo, tier 2, Baltimore Ravens. We're stacking tier 2 again, Matt, like as we did with the quarterbacks. True. Cincinnati Bengals, Zach Moss now the guy there. Chase Brown, 5th rounder from 2023. You got Travion Williams. You got Chris Evans. You got Noah Cain. You got Elijah Collins. 2 undrafted rookies there at the bottom of that depth chart fighting for roster spots. I'm just gonna write them down in tier 5 because I can't imagine you have them anywhere else.
I have them tier 4. I mean, I don't think I think you've changed my mind. I'm kind of a Zach Moss believer.
Okay, I was just gonna say, are you one of those Zach Moss truthers?
A little, but to say that he's an average starting running back isn't true. So he's a below average starting running back with a questionable backup. I think that's a tier 5, but maybe the best tier 5 yet.
It can be tier 4 if you want.
I know, but I think that slots better as a 5. Like, there's not going to be many backfields I dislike more.
Okay, that's well put. Here's another one. You mentioned it earlier. The Cleveland Browns. By the way, there was a clip yesterday on social media of Nick Chubb squatting like 550 pounds.
Okay.
Like, in his recovery from ACL, MCL, whatever, his knee got pretty torn up. So Nick Chubb is a big question mark there. When healthy, obviously one of the best pure running backs in the NFL. You got Jerome Ford, who filled in nicely for him last year, although he's not the same guy. You got Nyheim Hines in-house, Deontay Foreman. So some depth to prepare for this without Nick Chubb potentially. Pierre Strong Jr. to add some speed to the mix. John Kelly Jr., Aiden Robbins, an undrafted rookie. So this is there's enough depth. If maybe, let's say, you're getting half a season of Nick Chubb.
This one has an asterisk more than any of the 32, but I'm going to put them in tier 4 because I didn't see that squat clip, and that's fine. But there's a lot more to recovery than just lifting weights, and I don't expect him back soon. And we kind of hinted at the quarterback one that if you were to play today, how are we ranking these guys? Not big picture. And I'm not a huge Ford believer. They brought in Foreman, right? And which I don't think is a screaming endorsement for Chubb, and they renegotiated his contract. Yeah. So
Deontay Foreman's been a nice little player.
He's okay.
Though.
Yeah.
Nobody really pays attention to him, and he comes in and ends up leading the backfield in touches and being fantasy football relevant, even though he comes in as a guy with not a lot of expectations on different rosters year to year. He's become that very interesting player. He's like the rental car when you wreck your main car.
It's not bad. You can just go get them and take them back to the lot, even more banged up. Right.
All right. Tier 4, lots of unknowns there with the Cleveland Browns backfield. Finishing up the North with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren. What order do we want to put them in? Is it Jaylen Warren officially the 1 now, Najee Harris the 2, or the other way around? And then Cordero Patterson in the mix. Obviously, he's going to be in the return game more than anything. LaMichael Pirine. You've got Dwan Edwards, undrafted rookie, Aaron Shampkin, and Jonathan Ward. I don't know about the bottom of the roster and most of those guys, but it's all about Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris, the 1-2 in Pittsburgh.
I think this is an easy tier 2 one. I really think Warren is a super impressive young player. Harris is probably a true average starting running back workhorse, but they complement each other real well. I think the Lions were the only backfield that was more productive than the Steelers. So I think that's an easy tier 2.
Tier 2 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, we'll get on to the AFC North and then the South and the West here as we tier up every team's running back group heading into 2024. Today's episode, Peacock Williamson, is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And of course, we love sports. And when things get a little bit lean, and especially when it comes to the All-Star break in Major League Baseball, and you get the only days on the calendar that there's no games on. Thankfully, there's some Copa America, I believe it's called. And I'm not a big soccer guy. I've caught a little bit of it just because it's the only thing happening at this time of the year. But you can still find so many bets, including for the 2024 NFL season at FanDuel. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So get over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. By the way, you can bet on who the league's leading rusher will be in the regular season. Christian McCaffrey leads that with 6-1 odds, followed by Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, Kyler Williams in the top 5, Bijan Robinson, and Derrick Henry as well, and a whole lot more. There's over-unders for rushing yards for specific players as well. For example, new Giants running back Devin Singletary, over-under 725.5 rushing yards for the season. So find all those odds and props at FanDuel.com. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. We might have to do a prop bet episode before the season, Matt, because there's a ton of ways to bet on FanDuel. And I think there's some really good ones that you look at the lines and you feel like, man, this guy's got to go over or way under what that line is set at.
Let's do it. We can put that on the agenda between now and opening day. I like it.
Absolutely. Okay, we are moving on now to the the NFC
North, yeah.
North, and those Chicago Bears who have DeAndre Swift at running back, along with Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, the fourth rounder from last year. You got Travis Homer and Ian Wheeler in-house as well. I don't know if we want to factor fullbacks in. Some teams use a fullback, some teams don't. Kerry Blasingame is the fullback here for the Chicago Bears. I think for some teams, the fullback matters a little bit more, and there's only about 3 teams in the NFL that it does. But DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, Rashawn Johnson, interesting group, somewhat deep. Doesn't blow you away, though, as far as, who the main ball carrier is going to be on any given game.
Yeah, I think they overpaid for Swift and are going to regret that. Yes, those top 3 guys would maybe all start for the Cowboys. But I think this is a tier 3 all day long.
I like Khalil Herbert. He's a nice
I do too.
player,
yeah.
But they never want to give him the load, and it's probably a reason why. So yeah, he's an RB2 in the NFL. So solid there. They are tier 3.
Yeah,
from Matt Williamson. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. Is this a tier 1 group of the Detroit Lions? And who's the one? Is Jahmyr Gibbs going to leapfrog Montgomery as the RB1? Or is this just going to be a true shared backfield? Again, you got Craig Reynolds. You got Sione Vaki, who's listed as a running back and not a safety, by the way, the rookie 4th-round pick for the Detroit Lions. Jamar Jefferson, Jake Funk in the house, as well as Zonovan Knight battling for roster spots. But, it's all about David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs here.
It might be the best backfield in the league. I mean, they're both really high-end players. Gibbs is only getting better. Easy tier 1 for me.
And then you consider them already ranking as the best offensive line in the league.
Doesn't hurt.
It's a good combination for running the football in the NFL, Matt.
It is. It's a really stacked offense with a great backfield, in my opinion.
The Green Bay Packers have made a big switch from Aaron Jones to Josh Jacobs now at running back. You got rookie Marshawn Lloyd, the 3rd rounder, to go with him. A.J. Dillon and his thighs still in Green Bay, and some other guys battling for roster spots there. But those are the big 3: A.J. Dillon, Marshawn Lloyd, the rookie, and Josh Jacobs in Green Bay.
Also average. That might surprise some people, but I think A.J. Dillon's bad. I'm excited about Lloyd. I also think they're going to regret Jacobs. And for this exercise, I'm going to be pretty ageist / workload worried. They start to hit that. And Jacobs was not nearly the player past year as he was 2 years ago.
Yeah, you get the big workload year where you have all the statistics, and then you falter the next couple of years. You get hurt, and it's not quite as and change teams, and it starts to get a little weird. So Josh Jacobs could be on that path, and with running backs, you usually want to get off the train a year too early rather than a year too late.
Yeah, I don't love that signing.
Aaron Jones now in Minnesota with the Vikings, along with Ty Chandler, Cam Akers, Kene Nwangu. You got Myles Gaskin and Dwayne McBride there as well.
I'm going to call that average, although I like it more than Green Bay's, where Jones comes from. I thought Jones is a better player than Jacobs right now.
CJ Ham as well. I got to throw the fullback in there.
Fullback. I mean, a good fullback like Juszczyk's going to matter,
Right.
Ricard. I should have thrown Ricard's name in there.
We didn't mention Ricard, and he's one that's absolutely a factor in the NFL.
Yeah, but I think this one's average. I'm a little worried about Jones's age. I like Chandler, but Jones is still pretty darn effective.
So if Minnesota's average with Aaron Jones and Green Bay's average with their new running back, I guess it didn't matter that much that Green Bay moved on from Aaron Jones, right? They're just kind of.
I think Minnesota wins because they get him cheap, where Green Bay paid a lot for Jacobs.
That's true. We're not factoring salaries in.
No.
Exercise. How about the Houston Texans moving on to the AFC South? Joe Mixon now the new running back there. Clearly things didn't work out with Dameon Pierce. I had hoped Dameon Pierce would end up just on another football team because the new regime in Houston did not utilize the fantasy darling that was Dameon Pierce last year. Daria Ogunbowale, you got Jawar Jordan, you got JJ Taylor, and is it British Brooks as well on the roster? I love these undrafted running backs that I know nothing about. But anyway, Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce, what do you think about the Houston Texans backfield?
Might surprise people because he might end up putting up a lot of yardage, but I'm putting him as a tier 4. I thought Mixon was very unimpressive last year, much like a Jacobs conversation where I think he's hitting that wall. Pierce was highly ineffective last year. So I don't love that pickup for the Texans.
When you said it might surprise some people, I thought you were going to go higher because I was like, this is obviously a tier 4. So I don't think
good.
people that they're in tier 4. That's what I would have them too. I think
Mixon's going high in fantasy, and I don't quite see it. It's just opportunity on a good offense,
Yeah. Jonathan Taylor, the running back in Indianapolis that matters. You got Trey Sermon backing him up with Evan Hull, who was a 5th-round rookie last year, Tyler Goodson, and some other names there fighting for roster spots. The depth
keeps him out of tier 1.
To be desired, but Jonathan Taylor, when right, is one of the top backs in the NFL.
If they had better depth, they'd be a tier 1, but they don't. So, and Taylor's not a great receiver, so they're a pretty easy tier 2, but he's a very, very good player.
Jacksonville Jaguars, Travis Etienne has sort of become a workhorse back, surprisingly, based on what I thought of him coming out of Clemson. And then you got Dearness Johnson backing him up. You got Tank Bigsby, who seems like a player that, if I'm not mistaken, you liked Tank Bigsby a lot coming in. And it seems like the Jacksonville Jaguars, once they got him in the building, didn't like him all that much.
Yeah.
And some other names here battling for roster spots, but it's really Bigsby, Dearness Johnson, and obviously Travis Etienne, who's gotten all of the touches for the Jacksonville Jaguars recently.
Which I don't think they want, nor is he best equipped to do. I also think he's an overrated receiver, and those backups aren't real dazzling. So this is a tier 3 group for me.
Tier 3 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tennessee Titans with Tony Pollard as RB1. You got Tyjae Spears there as well. I think a lot of folks were hoping Tyjae Spears would get more of the load after Derrick Henry moved on, and he might get a little more load, but I don't know if it really works out in his favor. Hassan Haskins, Julius Chestnut in the house as well.
Also average. I'm excited about Spears. I'm a little worried about Pollard, but he finished the season a lot better. It could be a good lightning and lightning combination, but I need to see it first. So that's right in the middle.
Atlanta Falcons, Bijan Robinson is the super breakout coming for the former 1st-round pick. You got Tyler Algier, who's a nice compliment and almost too good of a compliment last year, getting a big workload. Avery Williams, Jace McClellan, who's a 5th-rounder from this year's draft, Carlos Washington Jr., Bijan Robinson, and Tyler Algier, though. It's a really good 1-2 punch.
Yeah, tier 1. I think Bijan's a total superstar. I think Algier might be the best handcuff in the league. Like you said, he's almost too good to be called, his compliment / handcuff.
Carolina Panthers. They drafted Jonathan Brooks in the 2nd round to compete when he's healthy with Chuba Hubbard. There, you got Miles Sanders, Rasheem Blackshear, Rashad Penny, who I didn't realize was still in the league. Mike Boone as well on that roster, battling for a spot behind Brooks and Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders.
I'm going to be conservative here. I don't think Sanders even makes a team. He's kind of washed out. I'm going to call them a 3. But I do think when it's all said and done and Brooks is rolling, that he's going to be an above-average starter and Chuba is going to be an above-average backup. But I can't do it yet.
Right. And we don't even know when Brooks is going to hit the field.
That's my problem. Yeah.
How much does Alvin Kamara have left in the tank for the New Orleans Saints? Kendre Miller, could he be primed for the breakout behind Kamara there? You got Jamal Williams as well as the 1-2-3 for the New Orleans Saints, Matt.
Kamara worries me a lot like Mixon and Jacobs, but he's got a lot in the tank still as a receiver. And I think Miller's a better backup than like what Mixon has in Houston. So I'm going to go tier 3 for the Saints.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know quite
what to
think about Rachaad White, because when he got the volume, it was okay, but
he's not a very good runner.
Yeah, if you need volume, then I think that's pretty telling of the level of you as a running back and what you can create yourself. Bucky Irving, another 4th-round rookie there competing with him. You got Chase Edmonds as well. Where do you rank the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, tiered 1 through 5?
Right on the 3-4 border, but I'm going to call it a 4 just because neither one is super physical, banger, closeout game type. White's receiving skills are obviously the best thing this backfield has, but he's better for fantasy than the real world to me.
Where are we at with Javonte Williams? Moving on to the West
Awesome.
and the Denver Broncos, Samaje Perine, Audric Estime, a 5th-round rookie, Jaleel McLaughlin, Blake Watson, Tyler Batty in the house as well for the Denver Broncos.
I'm going to call them a 3. I loved Williams pre-injury, and he never got back to that form, but maybe he will. That's a little optimistic. But what puts him from 3 to 4 is Estime and McLaughlin. Those two are guys I like quite a bit. I think that could be a fine, decent Cincinnati-like backfield if it was just the two of them. You know what I mean?
Kansas City Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco has become the guy there in the backfield. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Deneric Prince. You got Keontae Ingram. You got a couple of undrafted free agents in the house, but it's really all about Isaiah Pacheco here for the world champion Kansas City Chiefs.
And I bet this ruffles feathers, but this is a tier 4 one for me. I don't think Pacheco would be – he's fun to root for. He runs hard. If my kid would probably have a Pacheco jersey if we were in Kansas City. I get all that, but he runs really hard into a wall, and he's got a really easy life compared to other backs. I mean, again, if he was the Panthers running back last year, I don't think everyone would be psyched about Isaiah Pacheco.
Las Vegas Raiders running out there with Zamir White at running back, Alexander Madison, who's been the quintessential backup that you don't want to give much of a workload to, but he's, a solid do-it-all reserve player. Amir Abdullah still going in the NFL. You got Dylan Lobby as a rookie 6th-rounder for the Las Vegas Raiders, competing for a roster spot and competing for playing time, Matt. Zamir White, he's an interesting player this season.
He is. He's going to get a lot of workload. Finished the season very strong, and they didn't do a lot to supplement him, so they must be high on him. But that was a pretty small stretch, and I don't like his backups. I thought Madison was horrible last year, and I wasn't big on White coming out of college. I'm going tier 5 for the Raiders.
I think the most underrated storyline in the entire league this year is the Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins backfield, the gang getting back together, but on the opposite coast in Los Angeles now with the Chargers. J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. You got Kamani Vidal, who's the 6th-round rookie, as well with Isaiah Spiller still with the Chargers.
Tier 4, and I considered 5, but I really like Vidal. Dobbins to me is like Chubb, but not nearly as good. Contracts speak volumes that they gave him like a league minimum deal. And Edwards is fine. He runs hard, but I think Lamar and the Baltimore situation helped him a great, great deal.
Sneaky backfield in Arizona with James Conner and rookie Trey Benson. I kind of like that one too for Arizona. The 3rd-rounder Trey Benson has some athleticism, very different player, and could be, the heir apparent to James Conner, who's obviously had some durability issues throughout his career. As good of a player as he's been, you got DJ Dallas, Michael Carter as well in Arizona.
I'm going to go tier 2. I almost went tier 3. Connor's in that same class as like Kamara and Mixon. And trust me, when he was in Pittsburgh, I never thought he would age better than those guys. But he's still playing really well. And if Benson's an elite backup / starter to be, that's a pretty nice 1-2 punch. Maybe it's similar to Pittsburgh's.
San Francisco 49ers, Christian McCaffrey. You got Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason, rookie 4th-rounder Isaac Guerendo backing him up, and then Kyle Juszczyk, the best fullback in the NFL, do-it-all guy in that backfield. Is this a clear tier 1, Matt?
Yes. I mean, I'm glad we mentioned Juszczyk, and maybe I was a little harsher on Baltimore than I should have because of their fullback, but McCaffrey gets you in tier 1 alone. And Juszczyk, but the backups are just dudes. Maybe it's not the best backfield in the league, even though they're the best running back in the league.
Hey, don't sleep on Jordan Mason, who's got a better career yards per carry than Christian McCaffrey does. Okay.
Okay. Let's see if he can keep it up for the next 8 years.
Yeah, that's definitely wouldn't drop. Kenneth Walker, RB1 in Seattle. Zach Charbonnet, last year's rookie. The backup, last year's rookie, 7th-rounder Kenny McIntosh. Also on the roster, and then some undrafted guys battling for spots, but it's really a big 1-2-3 there with Walker, Charbonnet, and McIntosh in Seattle.
I think this is a 1. I mean, I think I like Charbonnet a lot coming out of school. I think he's going to be one of the better backups in the league. I mean, maybe similar to like Benson with the Cardinals, but the guy in front of him to me is one of my favorites. I think Walker is one of the best ball carriers in the league. I wish he brought more to the passing game. this coaching staff might look at it like we got to give Walker the ball a ton.
The shortest 1-2 in the NFL, Kyren Williams, who, by the way, just mentioned earlier, FanDuel, the number 4 odds to lead the league in rushing, and the third-round rookie out of Michigan, Blake Corum, backing him up. Boston Scott, Ronnie Rivers, Zach Evans on the roster as well for the Los Angeles Rams.
Super productive, and I love their style of play, both Corum and Williams. I just don't think either one's very talented. I think scheme went a really long way, and they doubled down with putting a lot of money and resources in the interior offensive line. This is tier 4 for me. I mean, like, I think Kyren Williams, just, you know, a team like Pittsburgh or Arizona, he might be the 3 in those cities. You know what I mean? I don't think he's a great player.
So looking back, and I said we'd
pretty balanced.
Buffalo. Yeah. I think you did right with having Buffalo in tier 2. The biggest group, the biggest tier ended up being tier 3 here in this exercise. So
yeah, and that's kind of what we want. It looks like it kind of almost as many bad as good.
There are the running back tiers for the 2024 running back groups, team by team in the NFL. Let us know what you think at BD Peacock, at Williamson NFL. You can always drop a comment on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe while you're there. Back next time, right here, Peacock and Williamson.